Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Before I start, I just want to say that only about 7% of you guys are actually subscribed to the channel, so if you guys could please drop a like and a sub, that would be awesome. Anyways, I'm going to be talking about what I believe to be the best fighting style and weapon for every fruit, update 6 edition. Now before I start, I just want to say that this is all based off my personal opinion, and that this isn't a fact. This is just clearly my experience and my advice on every single fruit in the game, and let's get right into it. So before I start, there's a couple stuff that I kind of want to exclude, like for example flowers. I feel like flowers is a weapon that kind of applies to almost every single fruit. Like it's always just had that simple combo extender that drags your opponent closer to you, so I don't feel like it needs anything specific. I'm also just going to be excluding the 1 sword style and the 2 sword style, just because I feel like most of the players that even have those kind of main it in comparison to like a fruit and a weapon balance. And then also just any weapons that honestly nobody uses that aren't good in general. Like for example, like cracking greatsword. Not the regular cracking greatsword, like the cracking katana I meant. And like regular katana and stuff like that. Anyways, in order to make this video as fast as possible, I'm gonna group the fruits together on the basis of damage, range, and basically mobility. Just those 3 things. And I'm gonna choose a weapon that kind of like utilizes the fruit to the best of its ability. So anyways, I think I should just start with the commons, even though I don't really see anybody even use the commons. So this is Spin and Kilo, and then obviously Suke, but I don't want to include Suke just because when you take a screenshot, since Suke is clear, it basically like you can't really see like the clear version of Suke. It looks weird. I just didn't want to add it. But anyways, I don't really see anybody using these fruits in the first place. Basically, Spin is a pretty simple fruit. I guess it has the little combo extender where you can like grab onto the character and spin them away, and then it also has a little bit of flight. I would consider that a little bit of mobility, but honestly the fruit is pretty garbage. So if you use it, I recommend having Roku, and I guess some like fist base. I'm pretty gauntlet base is based off fist, right? The damage. So maybe something like that. Now Kilo, honestly, it's going to be pretty hard to land that crash, so I would recommend a fighting style that lets you land that. So in my personal opinion, I would recommend Fishman, just because Fishman has like that little water circle move that keeps them floating, and then in the time that they come back down, I think that would be a good time to land the move. Now like I said, I've never really used the common fruit, so this is just my personal opinion on it. And then honestly, for Suke, I would say Roku, just because that self-invisibility is very important when trying to escape as quickly as possible. You want to make sure that the person you're fighting cannot see you, and if they get too close, you can get away quickly. And that's about it for the common fruits. Anyways, I would like to take back what I said on Spin, because honestly, compared to the other common fruits, I would say it's practically the best out of all of them. And honestly, it's not even that bad. In my personal opinion, I think it's kind of underrated. I know I kind of switch up, but I just like watched a quick video on it. So, but yeah, I would still recommend like a type of like fist based build. And then for the weapons, for Suke and Kilo, honestly at that point you could just pick anything. Suke, just like a high damage, same with Kilo. Anything that can help you land that crash move besides it. But I would say about that, like for a high damage weapon, I guess I would recommend like cracking greatsword. Or honestly, at this point, all the weapons aren't like super far apart in damage. But I would say if your fruit doesn't do a lot of damage, you should go for a weapon that does high damage to compensate for that lack of damage in the fruit, which is why I recommend like cracking greatsword. Anyways, moving on, we have the rare fruits. Okay, so first up we have Horo. Now Horo has always been kind of like that basic combo extender fruit. So right off the bat, I would say you should just go for Roku and then any high damaging weapon. The moves aren't really that great, but it's really good for combo extending. And then same with Marrow. Marrow damage, the damage on the moves aren't really a lot. It's more of just a combo extender, and probably one of the most toxic PvP fruits that we have. The ultimate kind of does a decent amount, but like I said, it's really just a combo extender. And then after that we have Bari. Now Bari is pretty versatile in like fighting styles and weapons, I would say. Any person that uses Bari is probably decently skilled. I would say it's kind of a hard fruit to manage at the same time. You could use Roku, but honestly, in my personal opinion, I'd recommend Blackleg just because of the fact that Collier move just really gives you the chance to really combo extend a lot, especially when you have the person trapped in the little barrier. I forgot what the move's called, but I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. And now we have Bomb. Now the good thing about Bomb is that it has its own mobility, but the moves honestly just don't really do a lot. So I would recommend either Blackleg or Dragon Claw. If you're using Dragon Claw, you don't really need to focus too much on sword damage, but if you aren't, then you should really focus on sword damage. So like I said again, high M1 damage like Red Kraken Greatsword or like Lancer or something like that. And then lastly we have Gummu. Now the thing about Gummu is that it doesn't really have good combo extenders, so most people that use Gummu focus most of their points into Gummu actually. So I would say just aim for something that can easily help you combo extend, maybe like Cutlass or like Flowers is a good example. But that depends what type of build you're looking for in Gummu. If you're just looking for like mobility, I guess, and like Roku, well, Roku is actually a fighting style I recommend for Gummu. But like I'm saying, it really just depends on what kind of build you're going for in a fruit like that. But anyways, I'm gonna move on to Yomi. Now Yomi doesn't really have great mobility. I mean, the moves kind of like push back, so I'd recommend Roku just to try and get that like chance to get there in time for like this specific moves, like for example like Soul Assault. And in terms of damage, Yomi actually has decent damage, so if you want, you don't really have to go for like a super high damage fruit. Like you could just go for like a fast type weapon, like I don't know, like Candy Cane or like Soul Cane or even like Lancer, the new one, the Rocket Lancer. But yeah, that's about it for Yomi. Okay, finally we have the legendary fruits. Now to speed this up a little, I'm gonna put these kind of like in categories. So these are the fruits that basically have their own mobility, which is gonna be Pika, Paw, and then Goro. And when I say mobility, I mean like in terms of like the dash. Like they don't really need that Roku dash because that's mainly what Roku is for. I mean, not necessarily all the time, but I would say that these fruits do not need Roku. For Pika and Goro, I'd recommend Blackleg, and honestly, same with Paw. But like I said, it's kind of like that versatile thing. Like I've seen a lot of people use Fishman and implement it into like combos and stuff like that. So I'd recommend either Blackleg or Fishman. All depends on what kind of build you're going for. Now for Goro, honestly, you could use the fruit if I want to. In my personal experience, I would say Blackleg is the best. And I'm saying like put points in combat and using Blackleg and maining that instead of an actual sword to combo with. I would say it's a pretty fun type of thing to do. Honestly, it's kind of fatherless, I'm not gonna lie, but that's what I would recommend. Pika users, pretty simple. Probably get like Trident or something like that, or like Rocket Lancer. And then Paw, honestly, I haven't been too experienced with Paw, but I would say it's like pretty simple. Another like high damage M1, pretty generic and basic. And that's about it for the mobility type fruits. Now for the rest of the legendary fruits, I'm gonna go through each one individually. Okay, first up, I'm gonna start with Mera. Mera has always been like the perfectly balanced fruit. So honestly, you could either use Fishman or Blackleg, to be honest. It doesn't really have that great mobility, the flight's kind of bad. Next up we have Hiei. Now Hiei, honestly, I think has perfect mobility, so you don't really need Roku for it, even though it doesn't really have a dash move. So like I said, I recommend either like Fishman or Blackleg. Honestly, for that point, like I would recommend like Fishman and Blackleg for any type of fruit that has good mobility. We have Gura. Now Gura has a lot of block breakers, so it gets to the point where I think it really needs Roku because you need to get there in time. Obviously most of the people know that. And then for like those three fruits, honestly, you could choose like any weapon. I feel like it's kind of dumb to even like try and choose a specific weapon because I would say they're all pretty similar. We all know that the faster the M1s, the less damage there is, but it's easier to combo extend and to hit with. And then we have Zushi. I've never really seen anyone use like Blackleg Zushi, so obviously it's gonna be Roku, just so you can combo extend with like that gravity move at the end. And then we have Kage. Now Kage is personally one of my favorite fruits, and obviously I'm just gonna have to go with Roku on this. It doesn't have good enough mobility that you can get there in time. And then same with Magu. Magu has always been like the most simplistic fruit in the whole entire game. You literally use like Eruption or whatever, and whatever move you want to combo extend with. And then we have Suna. Suna's also going to need Roku, doesn't really have that great mobility to get there in time. And same with Yomi. Honestly, a lot of these fruits are pretty similar. But I just wanted to give like an example of what people should be looking for when choosing the fruits and the fighting style and weapon. Like I said, weapon, to be honest, you can't really choose like a specific one unless it like extremely helps your build. Like for example, I could like say like flowers can be really good for trying to use Torii talons, because Torii talons is pretty hard to combo extend with or to even land compared to a sword. And then we have stuff like Ito. Ito has always been like that basic type of fruit. Honestly, just a combo extender. Obviously, I don't really need to explain that. Just Roku and a high damage M1. And then after that, let's move on to the Mythicals. So lastly, we have the Mythicals. Now, Torii doesn't really have good mobility. And honestly, no one really turns to flight in the middle of the match. It's too complicated. So you're going to be using Roku and any high damage M1 weapon, obviously, because you can also use Torii talons at the same time. So honestly, I recommend using Torii talons, but having like a weapon that can combo extend with that, like Cutlass or Elo Hammer or Flowers, whatever you want to use. And then lastly, we have Mochi. I haven't really used Mochi, but Mochi is also a pretty basic fruit. It has a decent mobility just because of the donut roll, but in my personal opinion, and most of the people I've seen, Roku is the best, but you could also use Fishman. Honestly, I feel like videos like these are kind of complicated just because they're not really like extremely informative. Like I'm literally just giving my personal opinion on it. But if you think this video was kind of helpful, please drop a like and a sub, and I'll see you guys in another video.